Hey everybody, I wanted to make a video because I haven't made one in a long time, and also because I finished my EDH deck. I've spent like literally 2 years off and on with this deck, perfecting it, and I've got it right to where I really like it now. And also, note before watching this, if you have any of the cards that are in this deck that I don't have foil, I am set with this deck list unless something better comes out in the future. So I really want this all foil. It's it's my priority of Magic right now. So first are the general Teysa, Orzhov Scion. She is great. Black and white have always been my favorite color since I started Magic. For 3 white creatures, she is an exile. She exiles something, and whenever a black creature is put into a graveyard, I get a 1/1 white flying spirit, which comes into play quite a bit. Basic lands first. We have 6 plains. I got them all the same one because I love that particular plains. And we also have 6 basic swamps. I want them to all be this picture, so if you got any foils of those, that'd be just awesome too. We have Secluded Steppe and Barren Moor, the cycle lands. We have the Vivid Lands, Meadow and Swamp, Marsh, I mean. We have the Fetch Lands, Terramorphic, Evolving Wilds, Esper Panorama, and Marsh Flats. We have my Land Destruction suite here, which is just the Ghost Quarter and the Strip Mine. Get rid of the really pesky ones. Kildoran Outpost is my white utility. Just puts a token into play for 2 mana. Loras Stronghold is the black utility. Puts a creature from the graveyard on top of my library for 1 and a black. Vault of the Archangel is newer, but it's the black and white land. Homeward Path, I can get back like a Crow and Horse, which is good for this deck because it's all about the tokens. And also, if someone's playing, what is it called? Something the Great-Hearted, you can effectively silence them. That. Reliquary Tower. I do have the ability to draw a lot, so that's just in case. And then I just have my multicolored lands. Lands that can produce black or white: Command Tower, Basilica, Salt Flats, Caves of Kolios, Tainted Field, Orzhov Guild Gate, Isolated Chapel, Temple of Silence. I was really surprised these days how many black-white lands there are. Godless Shrine and Fetid Heath. I'm short of Scrubland, but that'll come. We have Weathered Wayfarer. I chose this over land tax because I have some sack effects in the deck, and this can be sacked to do other things after it's outlived its usefulness. Twilight Drover. I can turn 1 creature token into 2 creature tokens, and if it does not flying, it's 1 creature token without flying for 2 with flying. It's a great deal. Mirror Entity. I make all my tokens big and beefy. Thraben Doomsayer. Simple, it taps every turn for a token. Benelish Commander. I suspend it for all the mana I possibly can, get a token every turn, and when he comes into play, he's a beater. Knight Captain of Eos. Most of the tokens I'm making in this deck are soldiers, so he puts a couple more soldiers into play, and I can sack any soldier I've got for 1 white and prevent combat damage. Cloudguard Ranger makes 3 Kithkin soldiers. Belfry Spirit makes 2 bats when it comes into play, 2 bats when the creature it haunts leaves play. It's 5 creatures for 5 mana, and it's all about the numbers. Because of cards like Geistodder Monk, you can get a hefty beater out of this one when you have a lot of tokens, and it puts tokens in itself. World Queller, that's just something I like to have in a deck. If I don't run many artifacts, so if I don't have an artifact in play, I don't have an enchantment in play, and do that, but I'm usually naming creatures with this because I can sack a 1/1 token. I don't care. My opponents have to sack one of their big creatures. Darien, you deal me damage, I get lots of tokens. Captain of the Watch puts a couple soldiers into play and gives them vigilance in 1/1. Eternal Dragon is mostly there for the plane cycling, getting me lands, but it's a beater later on. Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile on my spot removal. Have Blind Obedience, which I haven't seen it come up a lot in EDH, but I'm really surprised I haven't, because this card is great if you're like in a 5 or 6 player game. That means you're getting 4 or 5 life every time you cast a spell. It's cheap, and it's not too bad to have your opponent's stuff come into play tapped either. Mobilization is just a mana sink. If I have 3 extra mana at any point, and I'm about to untap, tap it for a soldier. White Sun Zenith, just pump as much mana as you can into it, put it back in your deck, get some cats. Ray of Distortion is a card I've also seen overlooked in EDH. It costs quite a bit, 4 to cast, 6 for a flashback, but you can destroy 2 target artifacts or enchantments for 1 white card. And black and white decks are really lacking the enchantment destruction and the artifact a lot. Wrath of God, just the board sweep in the deck, you need it. Elspeth Nidoran, usually using her +1 just to get another token out per turn. Almost never use her second +1 because it's not really worth it to give one of my creatures +3/+3 in flying. But the -8 is amazing because it makes everything indestructible. Beacon of Immortality, a must-have for white decks, doubles your life total. Martyr's Bond. Every time I sacrifice a creature token, I block with a creature token, I do anything with creature tokens. You know, they leave the battlefield and my opponents all sack. Nomad's Assembly, double my creatures, then double them again. Elspeth, Sun's Champion. She puts 3 tokens in per turn. She's a huge powerhouse in that way. Her -3 is destroy all creatures with 4 or greater, which most of my creatures are 3 or less. And for -70 an emblem, all your creatures get 2/2 and flying, which isn't bad, but I'd rather use the -3 or the +1. Stormherd, get a lot of tokens, especially after you cast the Beacon of Immortality. I have 40 life. Beacon, I have 80 life. Stormherd, I have 80 tokens. Carrion Feeder, sack the tokens. That's a sack outlet. Just sack tokens, make it bigger and bigger. Fleshbag Marauder. It's a staple card in black EDH decks. Put him into play, everyone sacks. If he comes into play, and I sack him with Teysa out, I get his white spirit. Hell's Caretaker. I can tap him and sack just a little token to bring one of my big creatures back. Like Bloodline Keeper. He taps every turn for a token. Or Endrick Sar, Master Breeder. This is an amazing one with any sack outlet. I cast, say if Edric Sar down, I cast this, I have 4 tokens. I go to cast Hell's Caretaker. I would have 8 and I would have to sack Sar, but I can sack my tokens to Carrion Feeder, Ashnod's Altar, things like that, and I can keep the number of Thrall tokens consistently below 7, so he's always out getting me more tokens. Shriekmaw is another interesting card. Now, say I have Martyr's Bond out, and say I have Martyr's Bond and Teysa out, which isn't hard with my deck. There's a lot of Martyr's Bond type features, and Teysa's a general. So I evoke him, he comes into play, and then I destroy target non-black creature. He automatically goes to the graveyard. Martyr's Bond says everyone else sacks a creature, and Teysa gives me a token for him going to the graveyard. Just amazing synergy with a lot of cards. Chainer, Dementia Master. He's reanimation on a stick, need I say more. Skeletal Vampire. He is an expensive sack outlet, but he gets me more tokens too, and you can sack the tokens to regen him. Grave Titan, more tokens. He's one of the big creatures I want to reanimate. So is Butcher of Malakir. It punishes my opponents whenever I sack tokens. Darkest Hour is the biggest synergy possible with Teysa. Makes all creatures black. That means when you get a creature token from her, all creatures are black, so whenever any creature of yours goes to the graveyard, you get a 1/1 white flying spirit. And that white flying spirit automatically becomes black, so when it goes to the graveyard, you get another spirit. Demonic Tutor. Simple, searches any card in your deck. Attrition. That's another sack outlet. Sack my tokens to kill off creatures. Phyrexian Arena, just draw power. Dread Return. You cast her for 4, and with all the tokens I produce, it's fairly simple to flash it back for sacking 3 creatures. Grave Pact, that's another one of those Punisher cards. Whenever I sack a creature, my opponents sack things. I have Unburial Rites. It's a reanimation that can be flashed back, which is awesome. Conspiracy. A lot of my tokens aren't soldiers, but you notice that I have a lot of pump effects for soldiers. I have things like I can sack the soldiers to prevent combat damage. So Conspiracy is basically here to make the rest soldiers. Beacon of Unrest, just another reanimation spell. Liliana Vez. She's mostly a tutor. Use her for the -2 to tutor up cards. If you can get her, if you're kind of safe on the board, you can just +1 her, have people discard cards until you get to 8, and then reanimate everything. Army of the Damned, another self-explanatory one. This is a token deck, so that's 13 tokens. Obsidat, he doesn't fit in the deck as well, but he's a beater that gains life, so 2 life returns always welcome. Divinity of Pride is usually an 8/8 flying lifelink for 5. Sorin, Lord of Innistrad, our last Planeswalker, and 3 of the 4 Planeswalkers in this deck, their +1 ability adds tokens. So does he. The rest of his abilities are not that relevant, but, well, the -6. You can destroy other Planeswalkers and stuff and bring them back, but I'm usually just using him for tokens. Obsidat's Aid is an awesome card from the new set. It's awesome because I can bring back Planeswalkers. Best reanimation spell in the deck, in my opinion. Debtor's Knell, probably at least the second best, because you get something back from anyone's graveyard every turn. Thopter Assembly, if you don't have any Thopters in play, that's 5 Thopters every time. Skull Clamp, another sack outlet, basically. You just sack tokens for 1 mana apiece to draw 2 cards. Lightning Greaves protects the general. Butcher of Malakir, big things. Orzhov Scion, just a mana rock. Carnage Altar for 3 mana and sack a creature, I draw a card. It's kind of an expensive sack outlet, but still. And Ashnod's Altar, which is the best sack outlet in the deck, probably. You can sacrifice your tokens for mana. And yep, this is the last one. Darksteel Ingot. Darksteel Ingot is here to be a mana rock. Just a sec. I knew I missed a couple cards. There we go. The other couple are a Crow and Horse. I'm trying to find out. Someone had traded someone for a foil Russian one in the shop, so I'm trying to figure out who got that. I want it, but it goes to your opponent, one of your opponent's sides of the board. So it's It's good politics. I mean, give it to the person who has nothing to fear, and nobody's going to attack him, so nobody's going to destroy your horse. And with Homeward Path, you can give it to somebody. Homeward Path, you get it back. Staff of Nin. Deal a damage when you tap it, and you draw another card every turn. That's what that's for. And Altar of Shadows, just because I love it. It's just one of those guilty pleasures in EDH. If you've got 7 mana, destroy a creature, add mana. Not that you need mana at that point, but I like Altar of Shadows. So, alright. Well, that is all, everybody. That is Teysa Orzhov Scion, my general, and have a great rest of your day.